Here's a look at a recap of your markets on this Friday, the 21st day of February. I think first to get started, we got to recap the cattle on feed report that was released earlier this afternoon. That report's likely going to be viewed as neutral to perhaps slightly bearish. All the numbers did come in within the pre-report estimates, but lower than the averages that were expected. On feed came in at an even 99%, the pre-report estimate 99.3, with a range 98.7 to 100% even. Marketings came in at 101.4. The pre-report estimate on that was 102.2 with a range of 101.6 to 102.5. Of course, the big number that we always look at is the placement number. Pre-report estimates were at 103 even with a range of 98.6 to 106.1. The official number, when all came in, 101.7. It really wasn't going to be any surprise if that number hadn't have come in towards the higher side, as the placements last January were at an all-time record low for January placements. They were down 7% from the year previous, and that was due to lack of movement last January as winter weather affected a lot of the cattle auctions and getting a lot of the cattle to the feedlots, where this year we basically nationwide had awful good weather in January and thought we had seen a lot more movement than that. Taking a look at what happened at the cattle auctions around the state this week, that could be summed up very easily with not very much. Just a couple of auctions reported on Monday. Had another auction that's taken place here on Friday at the Eastern Missouri Commission Company. They had a few replacement cows, a few slaughter cows, and a few feeder cattle. Then have a small replacement cow auction that will take place on Saturday. But when all is said and done this week in the state, only going to end up with somewhere around 6,000 head that went through the sale barns. Very little for a week here in Missouri, and really not enough to really test the market in any way, shape, or form. Hopefully we'll get back to business next week with a full schedule. Turning our attention now to the box beef cutout values. Choice closed down $3.93 for the week at $310.77. Select at $302.56. That was down $4.58 for the week. The Choice Select spread currently setting at $8.21. Negotiated feedlot trade as of the 2 o'clock cutoff time. Just over 41,000 head reported. Texas had 2,700. All at $199 live. That would be $4 lower than last week. Kansas reported 6,200 head, mostly at $199, also down $4 for the week. In Iowa, they've only reported 6,700 head for the week, from 198 to 201. Most of those sales were $2 live. The dress sales at $315 to $320, mostly at $315. Nebraska reported about 11,000 head at the 2 o'clock cutoff. Pretty much the same story there. 199 to 201 live, mostly 315 dress. That would make the live sales $3 to $5 lower in Nebraska, $5 to $6 lower on the dress side. Estimated daily livestock slaughter under federal inspection for Friday. Disappointing week for the cattle. 107,000 head on Friday, including Saturday numbers. That's going to make the week-to-date estimate at 563,000 head. Hog numbers, 481,000 head on Friday, including the Saturday's numbers. That'll make the week-to-date estimate there, 2,536,000 head. Taking a look at the Mercantile Exchange, the closing futures. For the week, live cattle were mixed, 13 cents lower to 62 cents higher. Feeder cattle, 92 cents to 245 higher. Lean hogs from 340 to 493 lower. On the live cattle, February closed Friday 197.82, up 20 cents for the day. April at 193.95, up 15 cents for the day. Feeder cattle for March 267.95, that was up $1.12. April at 267.55, up $1.17. That cash feeder cattle index, based on an 800-pound steer up through the 12-state feeding region, It was up 3 cents for the day, 278.84. Quite a premium to the March contract, which of course has another full month before it has to meet. Lean hogs for April, 85 cents lower for the day at 87.67. May at 91.95, down 50 cents. Turning our attention to the grain markets at the elevators around the state on Friday. Soybean bids, 6 to 16 lower. Wheat was 5 cents higher. Corn, 7 lower. For the week at the elevators, the beans were up 4 to 6 cents. Wheat was 10 to 12 lower, and corn 5 to 7 lower. Corn bids on Friday in St. Louis, $4.94 to $4.99. Kansas City, $4.51 to $4.81. Soybean bids in St. Louis at $10.36 to $10.40. Kansas City, $9.89 to $10.19. And wheat bids, St. Louis, $5.85 to $6.10. Kansas City at $5.70. On the Board of Trade, corn contracts, March close down 6 3/4 cents for the day at 4.91 1/4. May at 5.05 down 7 3/4. March soybeans down 6, 10.39 1/2. May down 5 3/4, 10.57 1/4. March wheat 4 1/2 higher at 5.90. May at 6.04 up 3 3/4. Soybean meal for March 294.80 a ton, down $1.20. Soybean oil for March 46.81 a hundredweight, down 45 cents. With the Missouri Department of Agriculture, that's a recap of your markets for Friday. This is Tony Hancock.